The industry wasn't being honest enough. And what I mean by that is, hey, Eric, how are you? And you'd say, oh, great.
I'm fine.
Glad
I'm
to see
fine,
you."
Chris. I'm good. How are you?
And that's not true.
What's up, everyone? It's Eric Vessels. It's with Taktiful, as you know. Welcome back to another episode of Taktiful Tuesdays, episode 52 now, which means we're officially made it a full year of Tuesdays. So I'm either getting better at this or just more comfortable being a little bit dangerous. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Chris Minn to the show. Chris is the founder and CEO of Digital Inc., a marketing agency focused on helping print businesses grow, scale, and stand out. He's become a really strong voice in the industry around web to print, print on demand, automation, AI, software, and how print companies need to rethink the way they connect their marketing, sales, ops, and production. Chris has been out front with a message that I think is going to resonate a lot with this community that I have. Web to print isn't dead, but the old way of thinking about web to print probably is. Future's not just a storefront sitting on your website. It's connected systems, cleaner data, better workflows, automation APIs, all the things. So today we're going to talk about where web to print's really going, why print on demand is bigger than just an online ordering tool, how AI and automation are changing the game in our industry, and why printers need to get better at telling their own story. And as we know, May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, so I've been really focused on interviewing founders of Sheet for Brains, and so that's why Chris is following up Jess from last week. So Chris, welcome to Taktiful Tuesdays, brother. Good to see you.
Eric, thank you, first of all, for having me on this amazing channel.
Hey, I've been talking to you guys around Sheet for Brains, been a supporter, done a lot of posting in the community and whatnot. And I've had you guys on my mind. And then when it popped up that it was Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm like, perfect opportunity. Let's get them all and get them in here. So for people who may not know you that well yet, we've known each other for lots of years. Give us the quick version sort of your journey. How did you end up in print? How did that lead to founding Digital Inc., where you're at now? Of course, when we met, I think you were still at Infigo. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so originally marketing background, working as a marketing agency, got to work on a really, really exciting project called London 2012, which was the Olympic Games. And
Yes.
everything just went from there, really. Found print. And if you're in marketing, there's no way you can't be involved in print in my eyes. Like, it is just so important to everything. And that's when I found the wonderful world of print software. And you could say started the apprenticeship of learning the importance of software personalization in the world we're in now. And I think actually that set a really good grounding for me, because the world we're in now, whether you're running a press or working with substrates or you're a PSP, you need good software systems of a good understanding. So yeah, like you say, I worked for Infigo. I was the global marketing director there, and fantastic company. And obviously we crossed paths in previous lives, and very lucky to work with them lot, and their partners as well were really, really special. And that's the key lesson there, really, is partners, because when you have a solution, a system, or a service, it's only as good as the partners it connects to and who it works with, right?
It's
so
true.
Moving on, set up Digital Inc. and became more of an agnostic approach to understanding marketing services with software. And the more time's gone on, and the more that things are changing by the day with AI solutions, people are becoming more aware, but also people are becoming more aware with the noise it creates as well, which ties into the Sheet for Brains piece, okay? That you then start to think, the people we're selling print to, their buying habits are changing. And that's where the whole Web to Print Dead campaign came from. And I'm really glad that the way you explained it at the start of the session, because Web to Print is by far not dead. It's evolved. It's evolved.
Right.
And the funny thing was, we put this campaign out in early January, and we knew there would be two types of reaction to it. Those that are thinking the old way would react going, "It's not dead, it's not dead, it's not dead."
Hell no.
Yeah. And those that knew what we meant would be like, here we go. So we had messages from people telling us, we're wrong and it's not dead. They weren't print service providers. But we had 30 or 40 print businesses contact us in the first day. And they were like, I've got this software, I've got this stack, I need to make it make sense. Can you help? I want to do multiple revenue streams. I want to have multiple systems. I want to run this into this. We reached the target audience we wanted to reach. And the last 6 months has seen another layer of this changes, Eric. We're now seeing the likes of GEO and being searched and found through AI platforms. So where the web to print used to be at the front of the workflow is now step two in the cycle. And then as Etsy and Shopify start to run their ads through the likes of ChatGPT, you're going to be looking at making sure that your products are found through those chat LMMs. Yeah, it's crazy, but I think it's all about looking at who the customer is and how you can help them. And the best way to help the customer is having an open mindset, being very agnostic, being very honest and very truthful. And actually, it's talking, because again, the problem with the who we're trying to sell to now, our buyer, our Gen Z, if you like, they're buying wired headphones. They're listening to the radio again. Like, they're very different. And all of us, we're on LinkedIn and we see these cat generated AI videos, smoking cigars, firing machine guns, and it's just like AI slop, right? So yeah, it's a real interesting time. But
So
thank you for referencing that point.
yeah, no worries. So a lot of printers sort of still think that web to print means you've got a storefront, some templates,
Yeah.
a portal for customers. What's missing from that definition?
I mean, there's many things missing from that definition. You may have multiple portals. You may have, or you may have a singular portal that's set up for multiple types of operations. It could be a B2C, a B2B. You might have a lockdown template. But what we're trying to say is that the buying experience now should not be set around a templated business card and there you go, and there's your web to print, and it's going to do this, it's going to do that. We're saying it needs to be a system. It needs to be an entity that is a connection. So rather than just saying, I've got web to print, it should be, I've got a software stack and I can take the jobs in here and I send them out to here if it's going to do this outcome or this outcome. They all connect, they all speak. We're thinking about waste. We're thinking about notifications through shipping or delays. We're thinking about MIS, we're thinking about ERP. We're thinking about, maybe even as far as the substrates we're using. So it's more of a case of going to the vendor and buying a system off the shelf. And it's more looking at what is the business trying to achieve. So we're working with companies now, and we're very, very fortunate, and it's not lost on me how lucky we are. And what I love about these businesses is they're so open-minded that they work with other print businesses across the world, and they connect through systems, and they share jobs. But the bit I love about these systems, and this is to go back to your question, they have multiple hardware machines, presses, all different brands, all connecting, all talking, and they know everything that's going on, and they're passing the job file through. That is the POD mindset. That's where we're going. So lots of different variables, and I think that's what we're trying to promote.
Because at the end of the day, Chris, I mean, the end customer has never really cared that much about how it's done, like, or what machine it's done on, or whatever, right? What do they want? They want it customized, personalized, potentially, and they want it relatively quick, right? Like you said, I always reference the Etsy economy or the Amazonification of the economy. Like, that's just where it is. So if you can build that distributive network, print on demand, and cooperate within a network, they also don't care what the back end looks like, right? So a lot of this stuff you're talking about is like, it's nothing anybody will ever see, but it enables what they do see. And most importantly, not what they see, but the capability of what they're able to get. And I think that's the big thing. That's what I'm hearing, from what you're talking about. So where do you see legacy workflows breaking down the fastest when a printer tries to scale online?
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You made a really good point there. It's the Amazon style experience, whether it's 1x1 mug personalized or 1,000 notebooks for a corporate event,
right?
Just branded. The difference is, like you just said, and you hit the nail on the head beautifully there, Eric, it doesn't matter what is behind the scenes. The end user doesn't care. But what we're trying to say is, if you put that infrastructure in place and you think of offering more, with lower
Mhm.
touch points, you will make profit on that one mug as well
Because
as,
you enable what they're wanting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that gets lost a lot of times, and I think that small shift in thinking is like, all right, how do we engineer our workflows and processes such that it's easy? And I will tell you this, having been at Tactful now almost 2 years, because our marching order really is to make digital embellishment easy, and I will tell you without a doubt, making things easy is hard. It is not an easy thing to make things easy. It looks easy on the outside, but what's behind it is really complex and difficult, and you got to think through all of the different scenarios. So the question I was going to follow up with is these legacy workflows. Where do you think they break down the fastest when a printer tries to scale online orders or print on demand volume?
It all depends. It all depends, Eric. Like, I mean, the way we look at things is a case by case basis. It all depends what's on the factory floor, and it also depends who is on the roster for the staff. Okay, so we're seeing a seismic shift now in terms of the employment and who you have on your team, because actually you probably now, if you're thinking about this right way, and you're thinking about getting the most out of your hardware, you needed the right people in terms of software as well. And actually, where AI is empowering, like the vibe coding and doing things, yourselves in house, you can be a little bit more agile in terms of working with legacy systems and reducing that software debt. So I think that's quite an expansive question. It's quite hard to ask, to answer that one, because I think it all depends on like many different variables,
Yeah,
labels,
makes
packaging, et
sense.
cetera, et cetera. But I think the first thing we would say to try and set the scene is, let's look at what you've got. Let's look at what works well with what's out there. But it's a very simple approach. It doesn't matter what generation we're in, what time we're in, what era, what are you trying to, and what you're trying to sell and who you're trying to sell it to. And if you start off with those very basic systems and situations and objectives, then I think that those answers will come.
It's funny how easy it is to get off of those basic questions. Like we build so much complexity, like we almost have to remind ourselves, all right, wait, what are we doing? What is this supposed to be doing? So we talk a lot on Tactful Tuesdays about not just buying shiny equipment and hoping it works. We preach all the time specific to digital embellishment, like if you build it, they will not come. Like you have to have a plan, you have to have a marketing plan, right? Are print businesses making that same mistake with software and automation?
Yeah, I mean, let's go back. Let's go back a few years and let's talk about web to print on demand systems. The amount of white papers and webinars and conversations I've had on the trade show floor where somebody said, I'm going to buy web to print, like, broadly, and they've already bought the press. And you're like,
Right.
okay, so you bought the press and now you're buying web to print, and I'm going to build this site and they're going to come. I mean, okay. I mean, it's not not Field of Dreams, is it? Like you've got to drive them to the site. And actually,
Right.
before you bought the press, you probably should have bought all the software systems and worked out. So I think there's a fundamental issue here anyway in our industry, and I think we're getting better. First of all, is understanding budgets and strategy prior to launching anything online. But I think it's the same with software. The problem we found is education is hugely still lacking in some areas of the world, understanding how to purchase software. You don't just go and buy software. Someone says to you, some consultant says, you need an MIS, it needs to be cloud-based, it needs to do this. You need to understand, what does it mean to purchase an MIS system? What does it
Mhm.
mean to implement it? Do you have the right people, both in a third-party sense and internally, to implement it? And what's the knock-on effects to implement it? Like, is it going to take you down for a while? Is it gonna have some issues? So that's still an issue, I think. But I think we are getting better as an industry. And the bit that we do seem to forget as well is we're extremely creative as an industry, but we're also extremely technical, and we have a lot of expertise and a lot of people that actually can help answer those questions with just a phone call sometimes. And I
Yeah.
think we miss that. And I think if anyone watching this episode, if they look through their LinkedIn, they will probably have some of the most creative and some of the most technical people in the industry on their connection list. So
For sure.
I think that's the piece. I think, and I'm basically saying yes to your question: the lack of plan, lack of strategy, but actually we don't have to look too far to create that because we have everyone we need in the industry.
Yeah, but it's like you said with the education piece, it's having the technical chops, having the creativity doesn't necessarily translate into teaching, into educating, into marketing, into learning, right? Like we silo a lot of that stuff, I find. Like, and it's not hard to like, because one of the things we're learning with, we just launched a new visualization sales proofing platform, Reactor, for digital embellishments. Designers are out there going, all right, how do we do this? Like, I want to do this. I want to put varnish on my stuff. I want to put foil on my, like, but how? Like, and we haven't educated them all that well. We've focused on educating the printer, but demand isn't created necessarily by the printer, as you said. Like, it's where's the demand coming from? We gotta ask ourselves that. Like, where's the demand coming from?
Yeah, yeah. We do some work for Print Mastermind. We provide a couple of courses and things on different things, and the courses we provide always come back to data and research from the end user. So we always focus on the end user. And one of the courses we put out recently, we were sharing some data around search and how the buying cycles change. And it goes back to this web to print is dead thing, but we're going a bit more into why it's changed. And I think that's the problem, is that there isn't enough out there. Like we've come across this issue, and I say it's an issue. Basically, people are searching now for a product, and they're doing research prior to purchasing. So there's a new part of the buying cycle. It's called the research phase, and generally you'll pick up your phone and you'll chat or talk to ChatGPT, and you'll say, "Tell me where I can get 10,000 flyers in the whatever area."
Mm-hmm.
And give it the five best printers in this area. And what we're doing, and we're not experts, okay, and we have to stipulate that we're not experts. All we're doing is sharing what we know and what we found out through data from the person who's trying to buy print. Ultimately, if we do not help these people buy print, then the press will not run. And if the press doesn't run, we don't sell ink, we don't sell paper, and all of this might as well just go home, right? So all we're doing is saying, look, this is what they're doing. You need to think about this. So we were trying to help these PSPs, and we were explaining that the AI now becomes like a personal shopper. Okay, the AI will go off and listen to what you've just said about those brochures in your area, and they'll then go away and make some decisions, and then they'll then bring back the top 3 or 4 printers that fit that rhetoric. So we were trying, we're providing information on this, and I think that's the key. Is there's so many things like this that we know that we don't know as an industry, and that we're trying to, like you said about the embellishment piece. But the interesting part is that's only going to speed up. There's going to be more of those embellishment conversations. There's going to be more of where do I go? And it's really, really hard. But as long as we keep raising what we don't know, the more we can keep researching and getting information out there. And people like Print United Alliance are great at that. They do some great stuff with iLearning Plus. I think you and I spoke about that earlier, and what they're doing with all of their education. Same with D-Scoop and the FESPA as well, and the foundations and things. But that's all we can do, buddy, is highlight
Yeah.
something when there's something new and jump on it quickly.
100%, 100%. And what's interesting about that AI discussion, this is a good segue, is like, asking ChatGPT, where's it going for that information? What are the sources? Well, it's still web, right? Like, so it was fundamentally changing because you want to make sure that you are one of those sources that then gets talked about in that AI chat, but it's all sourced from the same place that it always has been. So maybe people aren't relying so much on search engine optimization or search engines in general. I haven't used a legit search engine in I don't know how long, because I'm relying on Perplexity to go find it, or ChatGPT to go find it, right? But one of the things I have to ask this question to you, because we've got into this AI territory. Where do you think AI actually creates value in print today? Not sometime in the future, but right now. And I want this perspective, because let's think about this, because people like, and I'm doing it, and I know a lot of other people are vibe coding, right? And I'm not a coder, but I've built entire websites. I've built entire apps. I've built all kinds of stuff that you could call software, right? How does that fundamentally change the nature of software in the future?
I mean, look, I'm going to give you my personal response to that because I don't think I'm qualified to
Well,
tell you
that's the
where I
one that
think.
I want your personal. That's the one
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want.
So I'm going to say what I like about it first of all. We're doing a lot of work with the GEO piece, and you just mentioned there SEO is important. And we did some content recently with SEO versus GEO, and the whole premise of that was to explain that with SEO you have GEO, which means if your SEO is good, you're going to be found by the AI bots, and you're going to come up. Now, the reason this is so good for me is it's going to force lazy marketers and lazy business owners to actually go back to their website and think about, rather than just loading the homepage with some very pretty imagery, videos, and scannable content. They're now going to load the website properly with what we do, what we got, how we do it, why we're better. Here's our reviews, here's our case studies. Because what the GEO is going to force is you come away from aesthetically looking website and have more of a structurally layered, deep content that actually would help be cited. So that's great, because let's face it, we all know great print businesses that probably don't really talk about themselves in the right way that they should do. And actually what this forces us to think about is not what we see, but what's black and white for a bot that's looking for the information. So I love that. But there's the second piece for me to answer that question, and this is the bit I'm quite proud about our industry, is things like the pre-flighting and the image manipulation and fixing images. AI has sped this up even more, but the vast majority of that technology was already there in our industry over 20 years ago. So I think what's happened for us is we've got this ability now, and again, going back to selling that one mug, it's easier to sell one mug or one product online if you've got these AI tools that can take a crappy image that some kid's taken on a phone or whatever and dragged it up, and then fix it, gloss it up. And I've seen it myself with some of the projects we've worked on, where we've taken some crazy children's drawings, crayons, paintings, and then scaled them up to be absolute like wall canvases and stuff. That's cool. But then you then got the way we're now going to move data through the workflow. We're gonna. I can't give any names away, but I've seen a system where you can create your own apps with third-party vendors without being a developer. So if you're a small mum and pop shop, or a small print business, you don't then need to go and pay for the large software suite, because actually now you can now connect to your, let's say, Siteflow or your MIS or whatever
I
it
love
may
it.
be,
Yeah.
without being. So what's going to happen is the playing field will get leveled and be more competitive. And the reason that is because to be found in the AI through the result from the person trying to buy the print is not going to be down to who's got the most money. It's going to be down to who's put the most information out. So that's level of effort rather than level of budget.
Right.
And then the same with some of these software suites you're going to buy for like $1,000 a month, where you can connect your own apps. And I think this all started, really, to be fair to him, Focus, and we obviously work with many other software vendors, but they had their app store. But the app store idea, the whole Apple ecosystem, that's going to be what we're going to see.
I love that. I love that. So that's kind of a bit of, building a moat, so to speak, around your software offering, is to just enable that app creation, just enable that custom
Without
development,
coding.
maybe
Yeah,
via AI that plugs
yeah,
into your tools that you have. So you're not
yeah.
forcing off the shelf all.
Well, that's exactly it, because the point is you can afford to buy that system that runs your business. And some say, well, is it an MIS? Well, no, it's everything. Well, how can it be everything? Because actually all I need to do is tell it to connect to this third
What do
party,
you need? Yeah, yeah.
and it goes off and does it. So that's the prediction from what I've seen and what's been demoed to me. And I
So
think
make your software agentic, basically.
exactly,
I love that. All
yeah,
right.
because
Well, I know
yeah,
we're getting, I don't say we're getting long. Like, these always go like 30 minutes or whatever, because we have great conversations. But I did want to get to what's really an important topic for me, is that your association with mental health and wellness, conversations in print. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of a moment. The Sheet for Brains that you're involved in, I'm trying to interview all of you guys. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Why is that so important to you? And talk a little bit about what you guys are hoping to do with the Sheet for Brains effort.
Yeah, so most people will probably know, but the backstory is Jess Cola, then of GPA. I was of Infigo at the time. John Bailey was, I think he was global chair for D-Scoop, and Dave Rosendahl of Mindfire.
Mm-hmm.
In a
Mm-hmm.
very strange situation of things happening at one of the D-Scoops, we came together and we kind of just said, people aren't all right. We're not all right. But why aren't we saying we're not all right?
Yeah.
And then let's look into why we're not all right and what's not okay about the industry. And we tried to keep it focused around the industry. So we went away, the call. Bear in mind, we live in 3 different continents across the world, all the 4 of us. It's a very strange, eclectic situation anyway. We just decided that the industry wasn't being honest enough. And what I mean by that is, hey, Eric, how are you? And you'd say, oh, great.
I'm fine. I'm
Glad to
fine,
see you.
Chris. I'm good. How are you?
And that's not true. If we're
Right.
honest. And
Right.
I think it was 2023, 24, people have been affected by what then was the Ukraine war. We had, the situation with tariffs. We had paper
Coming out of
shortages.
COVID. Yeah.
I mean, and that alone is a PTSD nightmare, and people have
Mm.
only just understanding that. So we got together and we decided it's hard to say there's only 7 pillars, but there's 7 pillars of what we think are challenges for the modern print business. And that's everything from substance abuse to working mums to guys of a certain age in their 50s learning to let go, bringing through the next generation. There's all these different things, right? And we thought, okay, we're not experts, but we feel that there's an underlying current, and we're going to try and facilitate something to bring some resource to the industry. That was 2 years ago, and unfortunately, we've opened Pandora's box, and there is a huge pandemic of mental health illness, and also a lack of understanding and education. Again, it comes back to education again, that it's okay to not be okay, but actually the important part is to talk about it, and talk about it in the professional employment sense, because if you don't, the ramifications for you, your family, your employees, the next generations are absolutely huge. We've been a couple of D-Scoops, we've been to the Cornet Connections, we're hoping to go to Print United and spread this message that actually we all need to lean in, be authentic. And our whole mantra really is we want to help the one. As long as we help one person per session, per call, whatever, we've saved one person. And unfortunately, we've all been through suicides and lost people for different things. And it's amazing to be involved with something like this. It's heartwarming, but sometimes it's absolutely debilitating when you hear some of the stories. But it reminds you that we all need to take some responsibility. And you say it's Mental Health Month, Eric, which is great. But we were actually on, Branded by Woods actually reached out to us the other day, as a business. And they were like, can you come on and speak to our company? And the 4 of us got on and we had a session with them internally. And it was great.
Wow.
It was
Hell yeah.
great. 'Cause that's a business that's like looking after their people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
I think one of the things that I just wanted to say, you reminded me before I forget, is like one of the things about being someone who is helping to caretake someone else is that you have to caretake you. Like at the end of the day, like there's a point at which you have to and we got to lean on each other, but there's a point at which I think you can't always, that's why it's being very articulate here, but it's a 2-way street. Like it's a feedback loop, I feel like, because you can't always be the person that's being leaned on and you can't always be leaning. So it's like this back and forth of like ebbing and flowing through, hey, I got you, right? If you're stable, right? And if you're both not stable, then get help otherwise. But a lot of times I think caretakers forget that they got to take care of themselves too.
Yeah, I'm smiling because these exact words is what I give to the other 3 when we speak to each other.
Right.
It's like, take your own advice,
It's the number of times I am such a hypocrite sometimes with like, I've got all this stuff down and it's just like, here's how you need to look at this and here's how you need, and then I don't do it. Like, and I'm just like, don't be an idiot. But you have, I mean, speaking of Pandora's box, I would say you've hit a nerve, and you hit one in me really hard because I have a lot of personal experience, so you consider me, I know before we started recording, you said I'm a sheethead.
You are a sheethead. Yes.
100% in the club, however I can help. And I think it's wonderful work. And we're even this community tactisphere that we've built around digital embellishment. They're like, yeah, we would love a place in our community to be able to talk about that stuff and like
Yep.
openly and educate and stuff. And so we're looking forward to doing that. I mean, love what you guys are doing. Huge fan, big sheethead. Before we get out of here, though, I always have to ask, Tactful Tuesdays is about learning more about people. So outside of work, outside of your, social efforts that you're doing around mental health or whatever, what's your favorite thing to do? Like, what, you got hobbies? Are you really, do you have a secret skill that people don't know about?
That's a great question. Used to be a soccer coach, right?
All
And
right,
then,
right on.
yeah, but I moved away from England. So I tend to now live in the gym.
But you could transplant this. You could teach soccer coach where you're at from. Like, that's how you spread the word, baby.
I promised my wife that I would, not do that. I'd actually have to say, it's going to sound really boring, but my hobby right now is my two young girls, my two kids. Like this it's a bit deep, but this
How
goes
old
into
are they?
6 and 4. But
Bro, that is the opposite of boring.
yeah, but the problem is, Eric, and this is a bit of a revelation. When I was back in the UK, starting off all this stuff with Sheep for Brains, I wasn't present. And this is one of the things we talk about is understanding ourselves when we're not present. And I wasn't present.
Man.
And
Man.
I was, I was doing everything but being what dad needs to be. So when we moved away 2 years ago, and listening to the sessions from Sheep for Brains, listening to the others, learning from people that have made mistakes, the message that resonated was be present, be in the moment with the family, the wife, and everything else. And I'd have to say that is my hobby. I like to do stuff with those guys. So, and there's no shortage of really cool things to do where we live. So that, it sounds weird, but that's my
It
kids.
doesn't sound weird. It doesn't sound weird at all. It's literally the best answer to the question, what is your hobby? A 6 and a 4-year-old kid I'm raising. Like, there's no better thing that you could be doing, spending your time, and especially being present, because I know when I had a 6 and a 4-year-old daughter, there was a time my girls, who are now 28 and 26, are 2 years apart.
Big kids.
You're working hard, and like, it's yeah. Right now that they're 28 and 26, I look back and it's like, damn, I wish I wouldn't have wasted all those moments. Right. So being present, being in that moment, honestly, that's all we really have. And a lot of times we get hung up on the past, which is worry, and hung up on the future, which is anxiety. And the present moment has neither of those two things, right? So be present, Chris Minn says, and it's the best advice we could close on. Chris, this has been so awesome. I love the way that you're pushing the industry to think bigger than just storefronts, software and equipment, and the opportunity of connecting people around mental health with Sheet for Brains. I appreciate the way that you talk about the human side of this business and all business, and it's just amazing, my friend, to have you on Tactful Tuesdays. I'm sorry it took so long, but thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man.